Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Absolutely podcast. Today's episode is going to be a fun one because I'm going to recap all things of our Purpose Athletics retreat. Coach Cassie left me yesterday, which I'm so sad about. She literally is just the best. And we had such a fun weekend. And so we are back getting to the normal swing of things. And I have already tried to record this now a couple of times. And just to go with the theme of this episode, I'll kind of talk about what happened when we were in Sedona. But my Wi-Fi literally went out right before I started recording this. And then it was being really funky when I was trying to record it again. So we're just not going to think about that, but I'll be filling you in on like what's been kind of going on and just the whole recap of this trip, some spooky stuff, if you will. So if you like spooky things, this is literally the episode for you. But anyways, it was literally such a just like perfect balanced weekend, and it was everything I needed and more. So we're going to be recapping the whole weekend, the trip, all that stuff. I also, if you're watching this on video, rearranged my office. So I decided to manically just rearrange my office. So here we go. Here we are today, and I think it looks freaking phenomenal. Something about just like rearranging furniture just gets me going. Anyways, so we're going to be doing that first. We're going to be doing a little recap of the weekend. And then I'm going to be kind of talking about a story about our hike that basically kind of weaves into a good like fitness mindset change and something that I think you guys need to hear, especially if you're on your fitness journey right now and it feels like it's super hard. You feel like you're just going through all of the motions and maybe nothing's working or just feeling frustrated or like you want to give up or quit. And I am really excited to kind of share that analogy that we had over the hike this weekend. And hopefully you can find some value in kind of the story I'm going to tell about that and the mindset shift that you can have as well to have longevity in your fitness journey. So one thing about us, we literally kept saying that this trip. One thing about me, but one thing about us is that we turn everything into a fitness analogy over here, okay? If there is something that is hard, there's something that's challenging, there's something that's just stupid that I can turn into an analogy, you bet your butt I will. So let's get into the recap. So, like I said, it was just the perfect balanced weekend. Like me and Coach Cassie kept talking, I keep calling her Coach Cassie. Me and Cassie just kept talking about how we had just a perfect blend of like work, play, fun, working out, all of that stuff. We did all those things. We worked out. We had our movement in every day. We got our coffee. We had some yummy food. We had meals out. We had some drinks. We had such a good time. And honestly, it was so much fun to explore even the city that I'm in right now. Like I have only been here now for about a year and a half. So there's so many new places. And when someone comes to town, I take it as an opportunity to just like do all the things I've been wanting to do. Not that I can't do them when I'm alone, but it's just fun to enjoy with another person. Okay. So we went to a lot of new restaurants. We did a lot of new fun things. And I'm just like leaving this weekend so refreshed and just like literally the best memories. And if you want to see like videos of this too coinciding, make sure to go check out our Instagrams and Coach Cassie's TikTok page as well. She posted a lot of different little recaps. She even has like a whole story highlight about it, which I definitely need to do that as well. But it was a successful Purpose Athletics retreat last year. We did a retreat as well. We just so stayed in Scottsdale, and Scottsdale is obviously amazing. There's a ton to do. So it was such a fun time. But this year I thought, let's spice it up. I have never been to Sedona before. So if you guys don't know or aren't familiar with like Arizona, the West Coast, Sedona, it's basically a town about an hour and 45 minutes north of Phoenix. So that is where I wanted to go, and everyone talks it up so much. Apparently it's supposed to be gorgeous, these pretty hikes, cool town. I see all these TikToks always come up on my For You page about this, and I had never went. And when someone asked me if I had ever like been to Sedona before and I said no, they would literally be like, what? Like, because it's so close to Phoenix. No one understood why I hadn't been there yet. So I thought, Cassie is the perfect person to bring along with me for this excursion. We'll do a little purpose retreat takes Sedona. So I rented the literal cutest Airbnb. Also, like side note, funny story time. I accidentally booked an Airbnb that was 30 minutes away from Sedona for some reason, because when I searched Sedona, it came up. And so I booked it because it was such a cute Airbnb. And it was actually 30 minutes outside of Sedona. And I thought, okay, like we can probably just drive back and forth. I looked up the like Google like search on like if that's a good thing or not, and people literally said it's the spookiest drive at night. And one thing about me is I don't like to be spooked, and I don't like driving in the dark in scary like windy roads. So we did not do that. I actually had to cancel that Airbnb, book this new one that was phenomenal. I loved Manny, our host, was amazing. I wrote the most glowing review for this person. I have this thing where if I leave a review for someone that's nice, I feel like it's review karma because I mean, when you own a small business, when you have something going on, you got to have some like review karma out there. So I wrote the most glowing review. It was great. The beds were comfortable. It was clean. It was so cute. If you want like a tour of it, definitely go to our Instagrams and we have a whole tour. Or if you're going to Sedona and you're planning a trip, just feel free to message me and I'll send you the link for the Airbnb. But it was such a gorgeous Airbnb. And I totally redeemed myself when it came to Airbnbs, which I am super happy about because if you guys were following me back in July when I booked I guess it was like kind of an apartment, but a house. I thought it was going to be a house. It was definitely more of an apartment. When I booked the house for when my family and I went to Newport Beach, we got totally bamboozled, catfished, all the things. It was disgusting. It was frat-like. The floors had a little layer of just volcanic ash on the bottom. The showers were too short for us. And we got catfished by that. So this redeemed ourselves. Cassie even said that I had redeemed myself. So I'm going to take her word for it. Great Airbnb. So pretty. So cute. And if you guys can't picture like what Sedona looks like in your head, like Google a picture of it. It is so pretty. It just like goes to show like God's beautiful creation. The great flood came through and created Sedona or whatever you believe. Like it is so pretty. Red rocks, amazing hikes. I will say the vibe of the town, and Coach Cassie and I were kind of like trying to put our finger on it. It's very like crystally, a little witchy. That's the only word I can use to like describe it. If you think about it, like just kind of like tarot card readings and like that kind of stuff is kind of the vibe of the town, which I mean, if that's your vibe, okay. That's not really like my vibe quite, but I was more so there for the hikes, the nature of things. And basically in Sedona, they have these things called vortexes, which apparently like you can get healed in the vortex and you feel these like magnetic things. I don't know. I'm not explaining this very well. If you want someone to explain this better, definitely like don't listen to me. Listen to like someone, on TikTok that's well versed in the vortex world. But basically there's all these like vortexes, you can hike to them and they like do all these things. There's a lot of like tours that people go on where they do like meditation tours and all this stuff. I decided against that. I just like, let's go do a hike or whatever, which I'll get into my beautiful planning here. But it was super gorgeous. So that first night we got in, we just kind of like unloaded stuff, went on like a quick little hot girl walk. And then we made Aperol spritzes, sat on the patio, and it was literally the perfect evening. We were going over and like recapping our weekends, me and Cassie at our last dinner, and she said this was like her favorite part of the weekend, which I have to agree with that too. It was so much fun. So we went to the we went on the deck, had some drinks, and then we went to dinner. We went to this place and gosh, guys, we literally had the weirdest servers. And I'm not here to like drag on anyone. Like they were very nice people, but just like these people just were a little off. Like, I don't know why we just kept getting kind of like strange, just like funny, goofy people that were our like waiters and waitresses. We made it through. We were okay, but it was just so funny. Every single restaurant we went to, not even in just Sedona, like even in Scottsdale, like we just had like weird experiences with our waiters and people that were serving us food. But anyways, yeah, I can't even really explain it. Just weird, just kind of like just a weird vibe. But anyways, so we had some dinner. I think we had Mexican food like 9 times this trip. Sedona has a lot of Mexican food. That's just what they do apparently. But also too, like one thing about us is we love Mexican food and we're on the same page with that. So we were totally fine with that. But we got home. And that's when we decided we need to film this podcast episode. And before, obviously, that dinner and stuff, we put up a questions box on our pages. We sent it to our clients. We sent it to our friends and family of basically like, ask us unhinged questions. And let me just tell you, y'all came through with the unhinged questions. There were a lot that you'll probably never hear me say again on the internet, but they're in this podcast. So I'm actually gonna be posting that podcast next week, which I'm just hyping it up right now. You guys get so excited. We were literally laughing. We talked about conspiracy theories. We talked about dating, relationships, just funny drunk stories. There's a lot of content in there, and it's funny to kind of like talk about some of that stuff because I mean, right now, like in my life, I'm very much so like business, fitness oriented focus. I do still have my fun. Okay. But it was funny to just kind of like talk about some of my like past college experiences, being sorority president, all that stuff. I talked about all the things, and so did Cassie, and we laughed so hard. It was such a fun time. We both had probably like 4 Aperol spritzes while we were filming that, because this is where I get into the spooky spooks of things. So basically we started recording, and it took us 3 tries just anyway, because we kept laughing when we started recording. So we just had to like keep doing it over and over again. But we start recording. We're like probably 10 minutes into recording, and I have to say it was a fire intro. Okay. If I do say so myself, we were crushing this. And my computer starts to be a little funky, and I see something kind of weird happen on the podcast recording platform. And my computer shuts completely off. At the same time, there's this giant gust of wind. The power didn't go out, nothing like that. It wasn't the Wi-Fi. Our phones were working. It just goes out. And we're like, great. Like, I'm kind of pissed because we just filmed this beautiful intro that was hilarious. Okay. We were on the question of what would you get arrested for if you got arrested? Like, we were on a roll here, and the power just goes out. We're like, okay. And another thing about me is I get spooked a little, not too easily. I'm very in tune with like when things feel off, and I sound probably weird and woo-woo about this, but when spooky things happen, I like feel it to my core. I got a weird spooky vibe. But you know what we did? We persevered. We got another drink. We poured our Prosecco in the glass, and the show must go on. Okay. We did not let that hold us back. We were resourceful. We were innovative. If there's one thing I am, it is innovative. And I pulled up Zoom, and we recorded on a different platform. Okay. We made this podcast happen, come anything. Like, literally there could have been an earthquake and we would have gotten this podcast done. Okay. So we got it done. We were laughing so hard. It was super fun. But it was weird that just, it wouldn't work, and my computers kept crashing. And my computer, if it were to crash at home, I mean, it doesn't ever crash either, which is kind of a weird thing. And of course, like right when we start podcasting, it crashes. And that brings me to right now. Like, it just was acting, my whole Wi-Fi just went out, which is weird. And then anyway, so we're not going to think about that. But going back to Sedona being like kind of an energy place and stuff like that, I decided I wasn't going to like look up spooky things, because another thing about me, I will look up if something's spooky, and if something feels spooky, see what's happening, if it's a haunted house or like whatever. So I'm like, I'm not going to look this up, because if I need to sleep tonight, I can't look this up. So I didn't. I actually practiced self-restraint and looked this up when I got home. But there's a lot of stories about people's like technology draining, weird, just like things happening. And like, if you are like pretty in tune with your like energy, like some people feel drained, some people feel like better about things. But I had 2 nightmares, and I never have nightmares, and they were like out of body, spooky, just, I don't even want to talk about it, nightmares. And I was like, oh my gosh. Second night, no nightmares. We were totally fine, but I did get a creepy vibe. So I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was the Sedona vortex. I don't know if it was a friendly, visitor or something going on. But it was a little spooky. Also, my car key battery died, and then it like came back to life randomly. But going back to the TikToks, it's like a common thing for like things to die and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's literally what I experienced. But we're not going to think about the spooky part of things. And Cassie's probably listening to this like, girl, you're crazy. But we both kind of talked about it, but we didn't like want to really go in, because that would have been spooky to talk about that while we were still staying there. But it was fine. That was just a blip in the trip. We went to church yesterday. We're good. We're on our way out on our road to recovery. But the next morning after the podcast, we woke up, and this was our hiking day. And I'm going to go more into depth on the hike when I like kind of talk about like our fitness analogy and stuff. But we look up this hike. It's supposed to be 1 hour. It's supposed to be around like 1-ish miles. And let's just say it was not 1 hour, nor was it 1-ish miles. About an hour into the hike, we realized we are in this for the long haul. And when we started hiking, there were people coming back from hiking, obviously. And we waited kind of to get a parking spot. We were not there super late, but not super early. Looking back on it, we should have left probably earlier. We should have prepared more. But you know what? In hindsight, it's always 2020, right? And you can say, I should have done this, but whatever. Anyway, we should have done these things. But people were coming back, like walking down from the hike, haggard. These people looked exhausted, and they weren't saying hi to us either. I'm like, wow, those people, gosh, they're grumpy. They must have just had like a bad day or a bad hike or something like that. No, it's because this hike is a lot harder than you think it's going to be and a lot longer than you think it's going to be. And so we were like all, happy at the beginning of the hike, and we were happy throughout the whole thing. Honestly, it was so much fun. We took gorgeous photos, and it was just a journey. Honestly, it was a great team bonding experience, if anything. So we get like an hour into our hike, and we start thinking like, okay, like how long is this going to be? I check my Oura ring. I'm already at 10,000 steps. I'm like, great. So we're still going, but we're so far into it. Like, what? We're going to stop before we get to, we went on the Devil's Bridge hike. We're going to stop before we go there? No, we are going to keep this moving. And so we're passing people, and we're Fit Abby. We have Wellness with Cass. Like, we are fit gals. We are hiking. We are moving and grooving. People are, coming down, passing us, whatever. And we just keep walking, and no one's telling us like how far this is. Like, we have no idea. And we're like, our waters are halfway gone. I'm trying to like pace myself, and I'm realizing like this is going to be a longer experience than I really think it is. And it just was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. But we get to the top, we're all sweaty. We have to like kind of hike up this little thing. Keep in mind, this hike said easy hike. Like, I'm, Cassie, obviously, she's my assistant coach. Like, I'm not going to put her in harm's way. I don't want this to be any sort of liability. We were like hiking up these like scary steps at the end. And I was like, oh my gosh. We were like I was wearing my Hokas. I wore I didn't wear long sleeve, long leggings. I would have worn shorts if I would have known this was going to be an excursion. Okay. But we got up to top, took our photo, had our opportunity to just, sit up there for a second, just decompress. And then that started the hike down. And at this point, it was probably like 90 degrees, which doesn't seem like super hot. Like, yes, it is hot, but like to be outside for like 3 hours hiking in 90-degree heat, it's a little bit hotter. And especially when you're an idiot in long pants and you're running out of water and the sun is just beaming on you. By the way, I have an amazing tan on my back right now. I look like literally a hiking gal. But we start the descent, okay? And we just took it upon ourselves to just like hype people up that were coming up and tell them how much farther they had, because I wish I would have had someone in my corner to be like 15 minutes left. So I just decided to just start just subconsciously doing this with everyone. I'm like, yeah, guys, you have 10 minutes left. And they're like, whoa, why didn't we not get any hype met? No one was hyping us up. Anyways, I took that upon myself to start hyping people up. And me and Cassie, we look at each other. We're like, have an inch of water left. I would have brought 2 water bottles. If I would have known this hike was 3 hours long, I would have brought more water, more provisions, worn shorts, whatever. At least we wore sunscreen. So we're hiking back, and we just start to like kind of get a little bit delulu. And all we can think of, like literally all we can think of, is the water we brought in our car and a crispy Diet Coke. Like, that's the only thing I could think of for some reason on our hike down. And I'm sounding so dramatic. Like, apparently I don't hike because I would have been prepared if I would have actually known these things. And like, I don't know where we got this information. Anyway, we were misled with some mistruths. And the funniest part about this whole thing is that we literally packed lunch because we thought that we would want to go like on another hike right after. Like, we literally packed lunch for the car because we thought it was going to be an hour-long hike. Like, that's how far we were misled in this. And so there's all these people though, like in front of us and whatever, and people are just like so sweaty. And this couple in front of us, they are like talking and like, we're going to miss our bus. And the guy's like, we can't miss our bus. And he starts to run, and he's literally running in slow motion. Like, everyone was just unwell, dying at the end of this hike. And we're like, how much farther is it? Like, we like can't remember. We're all hot, no water, our mouths are all dry, we're all dusty. And yeah, we got to the car, we made it. I had a couple of moments where I was like, I may pass out. I may need to get extracted via helicopter from this. And it ended up fine. We got back to our car. When I tell you, I chugged this water like I had never had water in my entire life. I chugged this water so fast. And even the sandwiches were hot. We had to make new sandwiches, and we went to a gas station. And when I tell you, this taste of Diet Coke it was like one of the best things I have ever had in my entire life. I literally almost moaned. Like, it was orgasmic, okay? This Diet Coke was so crispy. It was the best thing I'd ever had. And we were standing in the gas station. I should get the video and like post it on my story or something like that. My face was beet red. My hair was slicked in sweat to my head. I'm not even a sweaty person. Slicked in sweat to my head. And we get up to the front to the cashier, and the cashier goes, "Oh, are you guys going on a hike?" Going. We just got back. And honestly, that was one of the biggest compliments I have ever heard from a human being, thinking that I had not been on this just 3-hour hike and looking like just a disheveled nightmare. There's no way he didn't know that I was like just unwell, but it was really, really funny. And we did not eat the sandwiches. We got home, we had a giant sandwich, we had Diet Coke, and I passed out for literally an hour and a half. I was so sweaty, so hot. We took a shower. Our feet were literally red from the dirt. I don't know if anyone else has done this hike. Like, it just was the expectations that led us astray. Like, if we would have known, brought water, brought the right outfit, we would have been fine. It was the research that really screwed us over. And that would have been like a super fun. It was still fun. Okay. I mean, if Cassie is listening to this, we had such a fun time, but it was just a funny story. And now we live to tell the tale. And I thought it would just be a hilarious story to tell. And I'm going to go a little bit more into depth about like how that relates to the fitness analogy, but like when we were hiking down and people were hiking up, they were all happy, excited. There were some folks that looked like they hadn't taken a hike in years. Not exactly like the most physically agile people, just from my perspective. I'm like, oh no, they're in it for the long haul. And I wonder how many people turn around on that hike and realize, wow, it said an hour. It's definitely not an hour, but we survived. We're there. Hopefully all those other people survived too and didn't get heat stroke or something like that. But took the best nap of my life, took the best shower of my life. We got ready. We went to town. We were all excited. If you go to Sedona, this is what you should expect in the town. There are 2 shops. There's one that sells crystals and there's one that sells t-shirts. And those are the only shops that they have pretty much. Like, there's some like little soap shops and stuff. Tell me if I like missed a shop. I probably did, because I was just like still maybe in a daze of like what the heck happened today. But a lot of just like crystally like shops like that. Nothing amazing. I did get a t-shirt. Okay. We love our t-shirt, and I did have to wear it the next day because I stained my other white shirt with something. I think it was part of the dirt that stained my entire existence all over this trip. But I got a little t-shirt, and that's basically like the whole town is like, there's just like little shops and stuff. It's very cute. We got some dinner, had some margaritas. That margarita literally slapped. It was a skinny, spicy, smoky margarita, if you will. And we were just thriving. We got home. We watched The Golden Bachelor. Guys, if you haven't watched The Golden Bachelor, you need to walk, or you need to run, not walk. It is one of the best shows literally ever. Okay, so Gary. So Gary is like 70 years old, and he basically is dating all these like younger, like 60 to 70-year-old women. So like older women. And it's just The Bachelor, but old, and it's so sweet. So it was so good. Me and Cassie watched that and literally passed out at like 9 p.m. It was amazing. The next day we got up, we left, we came back to Scottsdale. I forced her to go to the gym with me. We collectively decided like, okay, we need to get some movement in, go to the gym. We had literally one of the best poke bowls of all time afterwards. That was amazing. We had some good food this trip. Then we came back and honestly just watched Love is Blind. Like, when I tell you that those 2 days like just knocked us out, and we just needed to just have some chill girl time, filling up our cup. We watched Love is Blind. Loved that. Went and had a little dinner out, and then that's kind of concluded our trip. But we spent so much time just like talking about Purpose Athletics, our clients, brainstorming. We had a lot of time to brainstorm on that hike. Let me tell you, we thought about everything. And I was just at one point just like rambling on about like ads and all this stuff. And I was like, you probably don't care, but I need to speak so I don't just like end up croaking in the middle of these woods. So I'm just going to say stuff. So Anyways, it was literally the best trip. That's pretty much all the recap I have as far as Sedona goes. We had some spooks, we had some laughs, we had some near-death experiences, and we're back to tell the tale. So it was such a good weekend, and I'm like so sad it's over. Me and Cassie decided that that can't be a only once a year thing. Like we need to see each other more often. So that is definitely something that we will plan on doing. Um, but kind of going back to the hike, and I'm kind of talk a little bit about like embracing the journey and all of that stuff, because that is something a lot of people kind of neglect. And we had actually a couple of clients that we were talking about in on the walk, and just clients that are struggling maybe in general about their journey and thinking that maybe they failed or it's so long, or like having these struggling with these ups and downs. And on this hike, we were just drawing so many similarities to fitness journeys, and just like, in general, how much like this was kind of similar to a person's fitness journey, and specifically enjoying the journey. Because on this hike, for instance, like if we didn't enjoy the journey and know we were getting to a destination, we would have been just, it would have not been enjoyable. And I think so many people get focused on the outcome that they forget about the journey in between. Because quick fixes are super sexy and cool. Like, okay, we could have, taken a helicopter to the top. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna, ball out on the Purpose Athletics retreat like that. But, you can choose to take a helicopter to the top of the destination, but is that going to be as rewarding as walking up, having the sweatiness, climbing the steps? Like, that's not going to feel as rewarding. And you're going to have those ups and downs. And that's part of like what builds character on your journey, and you'll appreciate your results so much more if there is some sort of struggle. Having those ups and downs is like really what will keep you grounded and just excited about your fitness journey, not only like right now, but for the long term as well. And at the beginning of your fitness journey, when you're looking at that destination and that top of the mountain, it looks so far away and so scary. And that's what literally holds so many people I talk to back from just getting started, is because they're looking at the top. They're just thinking about how freaking hard that's going to be to get to this end point, that they're forgetting about everything in between. You're going to have switchbacks. I just touched my microphone. You're going to have switchbacks along the way. You're going to have times you probably need to sit down or rest, or even need to go backwards and go pee in the forest and you need to go back, right? Like, you're going to have all these things that happen, and that is a normal thing. So think about your fitness journey as a hike. You have your end destination, but then everything in between that you need to do, the ups and downs. You're going to have fun parts. You're going to have parts that aren't so fun. You're going to have climbs. You're going to have sprints. And all of that is part of the journey, and an exciting thing that is part of the journey as well. And the biggest thing is just taking one step forward in the right direction every single day, because eventually you'll look back and realize, wow, I am so far. And what are you going to turn around halfway through your hike and leave? No, like that. I mean, that wasn't an option for me and Cassie. We're like, no, we're getting to the top. And that should be you on your fitness journey right now. Think about, okay, if I was on a hike and I got like 75% of the way there, would I just turn around and just say, like, F it, like I had one bad day, or maybe I tripped over a rock and I'm leaving? No, you wouldn't. You would keep on going and you would persevere. So that is kind of what I want you to kind of think of, is like drawing the hike to comparison of your fitness journey. Like, would you turn around? Would you look at the top and think, I'm just not going to try. Like, I'm almost there, but like, I kind of had a hard little, just couple of steps. I'm going to like turn back around. No, like, stay committed to yourself, stay committed to your journey, and keep on going. Another thing is that go into the journey with reasonable expectations. I talked about this earlier, but if you think that your journey is going to take 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you are going to be let down, and it's probably going to be something that feels a lot more extreme, a lot harder, and just less fun than having those reasonable expectations. And that's one thing we do for our clients as well, is like setting those reasonable expectations so you don't go into your journey and get disappointed by like, oh, I didn't reach my goal in 4 weeks, I might as well quit. No, expect, okay, this is probably going to take a year. I am not afraid to tell a client, hey, this is probably going to take a year to do. And there is nothing wrong with that. I am still on my journey, and I've been on my journey for like 7, 8 years now, like a really long time. And there's still things for me to work on. So your journey isn't going to be point A to point B. There's going to be a lot of things in between. So if you have reasonable expectations on how long something's going to take, and even have someone to help you out with what those reasonable expectations should be, then you know what to expect time-wise, and you aren't disappointed, and you aren't trying to cram all this stuff in and, just be a little bit less patient than you typically would if you had longer of a time. And so be patient, know that you need to have those expectations of how long it's going to take, and that will make your journey just feel so much easier. And one thing too is that everyone's excited when they start their fitness journey. Like just like on the hike, people are hips or skipping. I was going to say skipping and hopping at the same time, skipping and hopping, and super excited at the beginning of your journey. And then you get halfway through and you realize, wow, this is actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Or maybe like, oh, I thought that I would be at a certain point by now, but I'm not. And those are all very normal thoughts to have. Like anything new is going to feel exciting and shiny and fun. And after a period of time, it's going to feel a little bit just more like, okay, like this is just what I do, which is part of the process. And you can either let that destroy you or you can let that excite you, right? Because when you get to a point where it is a little bit mundane and you are kind of going with those motions, and maybe like you have a bad weekend or you have a bad month or a bad couple of weeks, that's where that turning point is. You can either decide to turn around and take your butt back to the parking spot, or you can keep going, okay? So everyone's going to be excited when they first start. That is normal and that's awesome. What separates those that are good from great, though, is that when it gets not as exciting, they keep on going. And that goes for anything in life, not just fitness. With business, right? Like when I first started my business, it was so freaking fun. There was zero stress, right? And then you get to a point where you're like, wow, this is actually kind of a lot. And you're going to have things that happen that are not fun. You're going to have things that happen that are super fun, right? And so the thing is that when you're at that crossroads of, hey, should I turn around and go back? Think about what would that version of myself that is that best version of myself do? They would keep on going. They would get to the top of the mountain and they would persevere. Okay. You have come so far. Why stop now? Everyone is going to be excited at the beginning, and those that are great will continue to be excited. Even if they're not excited, they're going to continue to persevere and take one step forward every single day. Another thing is that when you get to the top of the hike, that is exciting. Like think about maybe you are getting ready for your wedding, right? Your wedding day. You feel like $1,000,000. You're feeling good, you're feeling toned, you're feeling healthy, you're just feeling great. Maybe you lost 15 pounds for your wedding, and that's awesome. You just feel like the best version of yourself for this wedding. Then obviously you have the descent after. Think about it as like a hike, right? You get to the top. Woo, so much fun. Then what do you do after, right? You have a choice. You can, stay at the top of the mountain. I mean, you're going to have to descend at some point, right? And that's kind of where a lot of the challenges start. And you realize like it kind of settles in of like, wow, now I need to get back down, right? And like, what do I do after? So having an exit strategy, this is where it's so important. And this is where we could have done better, right? Our exit strategy, we could have had another bottle of water. We could have kind of had that expectation going in. So we knew what the strategy was kind of heading out. So you need to have an exit plan, because if you just think, oh, I'm going to get to the top of the mountain and then like, peace out, I'm good. You can't just stay up at the top of the mountain, right? You have to have some sort of exit plan to be able to maintain those results and to get to maintenance and to be able to just chill, right? So you need to have a proper exit plan, whether that is a reverse diet, whether that is learning how to intuitive eat so you don't have to track forever, whether that is, learning how to, just have something that is sustainable and that you can lose those 10 pounds and keep it off for the rest of your life. Having a good exit strategy is going to help you out with making this something that's long-term and not just for the short term to get to your goal and then to just lose all of your results and have it all crumble, right? You need to have the right exit strategy to be able to have longevity with your journey. And just overall, you'll appreciate your journey so much when you're able to stand at the top and realize, wow, looking back at the last 3 months, 6 months, year, I am so freaking proud of myself. I made it here, and now I can have that descent and get to that Diet Coke at the gas station, okay? And it just all is right in the world. And encourage people, lift people up on your way down. Be excited. This is something that is so fun and exciting, and it's called a journey for a reason. It's not called an outcome, right? If it was called an outcome, that wouldn't be as cool. It's called a journey because there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be things that are great. There's going to be things that are not so great. And that is part of the process and part of the fun. So that was our little analogy that we were talking about on our little hike while we were dying and sweating and all that stuff. But I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode. I had a lot of fun filming it. Next week, we're going to be posting that Q&A that's really juicy. So if you want to hear kind of an inside scoop about me and Cassie, please feel free to listen to that. But make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this if you want. And I am excited to hear from you all next week.